Hello there, everyone. Welcome. I am so glad that you guys decide to come back to the Wednesday night studio. And I'm considering this as the healing night, the healing studio for us. So if the universe guided you here, you're supposed to be here, and I'm happy to have you. If you see me looking away, my the chat is over on this side, and um, my notes are over here. So, anyway, welcome, Tiny. Welcome, Witch, and all of those that are in the back room. Welcome. Um, so, tonight we're going to talk a little more about healing. And we're going, great, great. I'm so happy to hear that, Witch, because we have problems sometimes with that. It is so hot here. Is it hot where you guys are? It is just burning up. Um, but before we start and go anywhere tonight, I just wanted to pull a card for us and see the energy that is around us tonight. I'm just checking on the energy, guys. I'm not predicting or anything like that. So let's see what the energy is tonight. Oh, storming. Wow. And which says it's hot. Yeah, it's hot. It's hot here. Storming. Well, maybe the storm will cool things off, though. Okay, we have the Ace of Pentacles. The Ace of Pentacles is the card that's up. I don't know if you guys can see that, Ace of Pentacles. So this is about a new beginning for us all. And, Pentacles are about health. Pentacles are about health. So we're talking about healing. We're talking about healing here tonight. So it looks like, when I look at this card, it looks like it's called the Ace of Coins here, but it's actually the Ace of Pentacles. And there's like two hands holding up that pentacle, which is telling me that we are not alone. We do have the universe supporting us. So that's one thing that we should remember, is that we are not alone here. Okay, and let's look at that. Keep that in mind as we talk about healing. So the question is, what are you healing from? Guys, if you're healing from something right now, I need you to put it in the chat. Put it in the chat for me. Let me know what it is you feel like you're healing from. And I don't mean what happened last week or a diagnosis or anything like that. I'm speaking as a black woman, and that's the only perspective that I have. And sometimes we're healing from more than just the diagnosis that we've gotten. Um, I feel like as women, we carry things, especially as black women. And like I said, I'm speaking from my perspective. Especially as black women, we carry things, and we carry them so long that we we forgot that we are carrying them. And this card reminds me that we are not carrying it all alone, all by ourselves. There is the universe that's working with us also. So, we carry things that have been handed to us before we were even old enough to say no. So tonight, we can name some of them together. And I hope you guys know that this is a safe zone. and you're free to name some of the things maybe that you're carrying that may come up tonight that you didn't even know that you were carrying. And sometimes we're carrying things for so long, we don't even realize that we need a healing from it. Um, because black women heal from things that mainstream wellness and culture doesn't even have a language for. And that's the truth, because nobody really understands um, the things that we go through unless you are a black woman. So some of the things we heal from, and I'm talking from my perspective. And what made me think about this, guys, is my healing that I'm going through right now. I know it's a long process, and I know you guys have always asked me, why do I think this happened? I don't think that the universe is being mean or anything like that. I think it was just a message for me. It came at a timely time because of everything that we've been going through. And people overlook the things that we go through. Other cultures, it's okay. It's okay. You know, they're all talked about. But some of the things that we can heal, that we need to heal from, is like being the only one in the room. And I know that from my perspective. I've been there before. And if you've been there before, put it in the chat. Being the only one in the room. And you're performing with excellence just to prove that we belong. You have to smile while they watch you and continue to achieve while you're being doubted. And that's hard. And even winning when they change the rules. And that's a story for another time. But I can say this. When I was receiving my MFA, which is a terminal degree in which there are not, I looked at the statistics, and there are not a lot of people that have an MFA. A lot of people have a Master's of Arts, but not an MFA, which is comparative to a doctor's degree, only in the arts. And as a black person, I really, really had to fight for it. But here's the thing, guys. The thing about us is that we don't back down. We're resistant, resilient in that way, because that's how we've had to deal with the culture. Yes, which says just trying to heal from stress in the way that it affects me and needing time to myself, and it's hard to come by, and also the controlling nature of others. Yes. I have a safe space, but still have to deal with stress and controlling factors. Yeah. I do understand that. I do. I think it's hard, no matter how far you come or what you've gone through. It's just, I mean, it's like, and not that we're victims. I'm not even trying to say that. But in order to get or to follow our dreams and that kind of thing, if you're not held back for one thing, is you're held back for another. I went back to school, just my story, guys, and you can tell me yours, when I was like 36. Not back. That's when I first started attending college, and that's because my children were old enough that they didn't need me. I had already, at 36, I had one attending college, and I had one in her last years of high school. So, I started early. So I went back for my BFA, and I had to fight my way through that. I mean, it was like the professors couldn't contain, they didn't like the fact that what I was doing pretty much came easy for me. I was so creative that, you know, as a matter of fact, they didn't believe that I was doing the work. They didn't believe that I was doing the work. So I fought my way through that. Um, they did everything in their power to stop me, including changing the rules. And I had to get legal on them because nowhere in the policies did it say that I had to be on campus in order to do my work. In other words, they wanted to watch me. I had my own studio already, so there was no, and the campus, it's not like I was out of town or something. So I did my work in my own studio, like I did before I even went to school. And so then they said, well, you got to be on campus. I was like, show me where the university policies say that I have to be on campus. In other words, they didn't believe me that I was doing the work. Then they started saying that I was stealing things. Where that came from, I don't know. At one time, I was what you call a lab assistant or whatever. So they just felt that I was taking things from the lab, or they wanted to say that. In other words, they just made up things. And then there was opportunities that came along for me, and they stood in my way. People wanted to write about me, being the black woman on campus, achieving, because I was winning awards and things already. And people wanted to write articles about me. And of course, they let my committee know first, and the committee was like, no. So, the thing about um, trying to fit into the system is that you have to work so hard. You have to really be resilient. And the reason, why I'm telling you this story, guys, is because pass it along to the younger women that have these blocks thrown in front of them that are trying to stop them from achieving their goals. Yes, MFA is something that they say you have to have in order to do certain things like teach in college and that kind of thing. They even tried to stop that. I did get a chance to teach. But they put a lot of stops in front of me. They just, it was just ridiculous. So, it just left a lot of marks for me when I think about it. When you wake up 3 o'clock in the morning, and these are things that you would think by now, because by the time I got done with my MFA degree, going through my Bachelor's of Fine Arts and then my Master's of Fine Arts, I guess I was like 45 or so. And then, I just kept, getting my work in galleries and things like that. But the people in the system, the institution that I went to get the degree from, they did not like it. They could not understand. How can she? Because most of the time when people are judging your work, and that's another thing, you have to be able to put up with the judgments, okay, critiques, and When you make it, when you get an award and your professors don't, they got a problem. They have a problem. So those are just things that, I know that I am still healing from, but I feel like I have to bring the message because it's so much when you talk about institutional racism. And that's what it is that we all have to bear. And I think that we all have to fight our own fight, whatever that is. So, guys, that I've been healing from this burn. It's like I had to go through all that fire to understand what it is that I've had to bear. This burn is like I now understand that even though they could try to keep me from doing what I needed to do, what I wanted to do, and that kind of thing, I'm here. And I hope I can help other women to stand up for what they feel is right for them. For you first. For you first. Okay? Because if you haven't went through it, you can't tell other people. You don't have that testimony. You know what I'm saying? So whatever it is, and we all bear something as women. We all have some kind of cross that we've had to bear. And I think we should start speaking up more about it. And this card here, this Ace of Coins, is telling me about the healing and helps me to understand that I am in this place in my 70s because this is where the universe wanted me to be at this time. And, people talk about how we're not treated the same. Our pain is dismissed. We know about the women that go into, that have, to have their children and they're not given pain medication as they should or they're not even attended to because they look at you like, you should be able to bear that pain. So we also have to heal from generational wounds that were passed down through our grandmothers, our mothers, our aunties, and, women who survived things that they never even spoke about. We still carry that. So, yeah, I just feel like I need to share that, and I hope that it helps someone else to do what they need to do. For yourself, though, okay? For yourself first. For yourself first. That's the only way you can help anyone else. You guys all know about my shirt catching on fire. You all know about that. And that fire is something that our ancestors talk about. Let's pull another card. Let me pull another card, see what else we get. All right. Pull another card here. It's the Knight of Swords. And the Knight of Swords, he goes charging through with information. He has a message. And I think as it pertains to women, We have to charge through with our message. Don't be embarrassed about what it is, because other women, like I said, grandmothers, mothers, aunties, sisters, they've all been through some of the same kinds of things that we don't even realize, that we don't even talk about. And I don't know, how did that land for some of you? I know we're talking about healing, and we're talking about what is it that we really have to heal from. Now, if I were to, with that title, you would think that we're healing from all the mess that the world, that the universe is showing us right now through our leadership. But I believe that it's deeper than that for us, even just as women, for women in general, but black women especially. It's deeper because those wounds go deeper. So when we look at the politics of things, okay, that's there. That's there to show us something. But that's really not the deepest wound. That's not the deepest wound. It's something that, like I said, that what keeps you up at night. I've had friends and associates ask me, well, Mary, why don't you come march with us? You know, they have some kind of women's thing going on. And I know in my heart from, you know, being a product of, I'll say the 70s, because I was still growing though, even though I was a teenager, and I got married early in the 70s and all that. But the 60s and 70s is where I came through, and I knew about the marches and that kind of thing. But as I watched things and as I grew older, I watched how it didn't matter if black women marched along with other groups of women. Black women would put themselves on the line. And then everything would go to the other women, the white women. You stand up and you fight and you fight. But in the end, you don't get the positions. You don't get the pay. Your pay is so much less even today. These are things that we really need to talk about. It's not that they don't know it, but when I think about how our president gets away with things, it's the same thing as those institutions getting away with things when it comes to the black woman. And no, I would never march. I decided this a long time ago. Even, not when it comes to women, not because I want to make a path for women, but what I'm talking about is people asking me, Mary, why don't you march for this woman's this or woman's that or what? No. And I've always, and then they're like, no, these are white associates of mine, and I'm just truthful and honest. We don't get anything out of it. You get it all. And then, you know, I have those same friends asking, well, what can we do? I don't know. You figure it out. You figure it out. If we're going to stand up and march for you, you're going to have to do something to make sure we benefit from it. Now, it's enough of you to figure out how to bring us into the fold. But I'm not a part of that conversation. You know, well, what are we doing wrong? I can't, don't ask me. You figure that out. I am not the history book. you know where you stand, even though you may not, and I'm not saying everybody's that way, but you may not want to admit your privilege. Some of them do, they know. I have one that says, I know I'm privileged, okay? And she wants me to tell her, well, what do I do? What do I do? It's not for me to figure out. You do you. I mean, if you really want to do something, you can figure that out. Which says it's a foundational issue. It was all built on the worst things possible to begin. Yes, to begin with, because when things were built, the Constitution and all that, it was not built for us. It didn't include us. That's why it's so hard to get over and get around what is going on, because when this country was built, it wasn't built to include us. And they're not letting go of that power. That's just the bottom line. And we see it now so clearly. You may have thought, yes, which says it was built on slavery, and that's a lot of what they want to go back to now when we think about MAGA. They have been showing their butts. They have. So when we talk about healing for the black woman, no, it wasn't built to include women, period. That's true. But I can say this, a tiny, and it's no offense to anybody, but white women have benefited much more than black women, you know. And no, I don't have to justify anything. Like I said, um, it's just the way it is. It's the way it is. Even though it, you know, white women had their issues also, because this is a white man. White men want to rule the world. It still doesn't affect them. Still doesn't affect you guys like it does us. Even at this time, in the year 2026, it's still a different kind of situation. And that's just being honest. So healing for black women looks completely different from mainstream wellness. And I am so happy you're here, Tiny, because, I mean, there's a lot of good people out there, guys, and don't feel like I'm trying to lump everything, um, uh, uh, put everything in one big lump, because that wouldn't be true. That wouldn't be true. Um, it's just that you say that, yeah, I know you agree, Tiny, um, but there's just no, and you admitted it. You said you wouldn't be able to. How did you say it? I saw that. Um, Hard enough as a woman, you can't imagine being a black woman. Right, right. Um, and it hasn't stopped. It's just that our healing looks a little different because we've had to go through much more. And when you think about ancestors, you know, those kinds of things, they don't, it's not like it's just going to leave your system. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, sometimes healing is like just saying no and not feeling guilty about it. Because as a black woman, we feel that we should be there for everybody, we should take care of everything. And it's hard for us to say no. That's where that stress comes in, which, because we don't know how, we are always trying to make everything good for everybody else. And when we talk about like relationships and that kind of thing, and we're talking again, we're going back, guys. And this is not to be victimizing people, but we just have to be honest. We want to make sure that our men are healed. And when things are passed down in your DNA, and people say, just get over it, it's not that easy. Because you have that man from slavery that had to watch his wife, his daughter, be used. I'll put it that way. I want to stay on YouTube. By Caucasians. They had to watch and couldn't do anything about it. That's built into the DNA of a lot of our men. And I think a lot of times we want to protect them. And maybe we overprotect. If you have a male child, maybe you overprotect because something is telling you, you know, you feel it about what's, you know, what happens with them. Let me pull another card. See what we get. The Four of Swords. Four of Swords. This is about resting, releasing. And I go back to the black woman again. Sometimes we don't know how to rest, when we should rest. You know what I'm saying? Because you're trying to do everything and make everything okay. Sometimes healing also looks like when you had this dream, when you're 30, 40, 50, 60 and beyond, and you still want to do it. If that's what it takes for you to heal, it's not too late, guys. I'm a witness to that. It's not too late. Do what you need to do to heal yourself. That dream that you wanted, you know, like I said, we're digging deep. We're not on the surface. Sometimes we're ill because we've put up boundaries. We've said, well, I can't do it now. It's too late now. What are people going to think if I say this or if I do this or whatever? You know what I'm saying? That's why I say it's all about you. We can't let others stop us. And, I look at this as like, to me, for me, sometimes these Wednesday nights are like healing for me. Okay? Because I can come here and I can talk to this community. I don't even have to pull a card because we all know, no matter what your color is, we all know that we have to heal, especially as women. We all know that we have some healings to do. So when you step into the studio on Wednesday nights at 7:50, you know that there's going to be something here that's going to help your healing. And if this is speaking to you guys, let me know. Tiny says, she says now, no is a complete sentence. It took me late in life to not care what others think of me. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And that power that men try to hold on to and make us belittle us. I'm talking about the men that are in power right now. What people don't understand is, especially those MAGA people, they're not in the same class as these people that are trying to hang on to power. They go out and they do the dirty work for them. I think about the young man that just, I'm trying to think of his name. You guys know he went out with his friends. He was the only one there. And he lost his life. To me, that's power at a young age, at a young stage in these people's lives that are going to grow up and want even more power. They're showing you how powerful they are right now. They're showing you what they think your worth is right now. These are young men that supposedly left their friend on an island. The only black young man in the group. And it's just sad, because these people are going to grow up thinking that they're so privileged that if you're not the same skin color, you're not worthy. As a matter of fact, let's pull a card on that. His name was Nolan. I know you guys have seen it. What's his name, Nolan? Let me make sure of who he was. We're talking about healing for women, but I just got through saying how we want to be so protective of our young men, sometimes too too much so that they can end up in situations like this. The young man that lost his life, I think it was Nolan Tells or something like that. What was his name? And that was left on an island in off of Mississippi waters. Yeah, I had it right. Nolan Xavier Wells. He was 18. You know, it's sad that you have to tell your children if you're not the only one in the group, maybe you don't need to go. He was 18. And it's just sad. I feel so sorry for their family. And but we all know that there was other things, other reasons. It wasn't, well, that's my opinion, allegedly. There's more to it than, you know. But let me pull a card on Nolan Wells. Condolences to his family and rest in peace, Nolan. The Fool. Now, to me, this can go in more than one way. Nolan knew that it was risky doing what he was doing. Now, these were people that he grew up with, that he hung around with, but from what they're saying, he ended up on a different boat than a lot of some of the friends that he came with, which, you know, to get to the island, he was supposed to be hanging with his friends, but somehow, this is just one story, guys. I don't know if it's true. As if Spirit says, yeah, that part is true. Anyway, they couldn't all fit on the boat, so he got on the boat with somebody else. So he was separated from his buddies that he grew up with, that he went to school with. And I think that Fool card is showing up there because of the risk that he took in getting on another boat, if that's true. But also, just think about the fact that whatever happened, someone is being foolish about the whole situation. They know what happened. And, hold on, guys, I dropped a card. I think this may be interesting here. It's the Two of Cups. Two of Cups. But it's a very dark two of Cups. It's about relationships, partnerships. I believe in this particular situation, guys, that people know what happened, but they're sticking together on the truth. And it's a dark truth. It's a dark truth. I'm thinking, how do we get here talking about him? But it's because it's like, as black women, we raise our children to get along with everyone. We're just that kind of people. And sometimes, of course, we tell them to be careful. We explain to them, or I did to mine anyway, that these are your friends now. Because my kids grew up kind of in the same situation. These are your friends now. But when you get older, you may have to look at it differently. And I can say that, my son's group of friends, it just makes you think about these things, like what happened to Nolan. Um, to this day, I think he still feels like they're friends. And I think they are. Like I said, you can't group everybody into one big pile. That's crazy. But I think that his parents probably felt like he was on the right path. I'm sure that they had talked to him about certain things. And they felt that he could trust the people that he was around. But see, this is the thing. You just don't, you just never know what's going to make somebody think that you're less than them. You never know what's going to trigger somebody. You know? That's why I think we still have to make sure that our kids know about these things at a young age. At a young age. No, not when they get 15. It's sad that you have to instill it in them when they're so young. And then, we talk about, like I said, we wonder, it's in our DNA, how our relationships can break down. As black men and women. Sometimes we just don't know how to do it right. Hi, Christine. Yeah, Christine, Muslims include, they're black Muslims too, so, that's a big spectrum. It says black people have been taught that if you are associated and are dating and marrying white people somehow makes us better. It's a lie. Yeah, they're not better than us. No, nobody's better than anybody. Although um, some of some people may think, well, they do. The majority think they're better than us. That's instilled. Talking about DNA, that's instilled in their DNA, and they keep passing it down. They think that we are less than human. So anyway, as I get back to Nolan, these people took a risk. We have this fool card here, but they're going to be found out. And they are sticking together with this dark two of cups here. They're sticking together right now about the whole situation. But what I want to know, I have my pendulum out, guys, and I want to know, Will Spirit show me yes? Thank you. Show me no. Thank you. Will the truth about what happened to Nolan Wells come out? There you go. Big yes. Thank you, Spirit. Spirit, was his death an accident? No. It was not. Sad. Um, was there an argument that ensued between him and one friend? Yes. Was it more than one friend? Yes. Thank you. So it wasn't an accident, right? Yes. Spirit, was it premeditated? No, it wasn't. So it looks, thank you, Spirit. It looks like it's something that they argued about, and his life to them, whoever that was involved in that argument, his life wasn't important to them. It was too easy. Tell us more about that situation, Spirit. Hmm. The Eight of Swords. Somebody's going to jail. Somebody's going to jail. I think as women, especially as black women, we got to put more emphasis on this. Children, grandkids, whatever. We got to put more emphasis on, because people are intermingling and being around one another. And, we have to, as black women, put more emphasis on taking care of yourself while you're around people that are not like you, because they do not value your life like they would one of their own. Bottom line. Bottom line. They do not value your life as they would one of their own. It was more than one person involved in this. More than one of his friends. At least two others. They found his body, Tiny. They found his body. So yeah, he definitely passed away. Christine, that's what you said is so true. Our excellence exposes their mediocrity. Not all whites are bad, which is so true. But in America, they all live under a privilege that we don't have. But I was raised to love everyone, and I do. That's me too. That's how I was raised. But we die because of it. Yes. Yes. Okay, Tiny, You got to explain this to me, what you're talking about. His parents identified the body. What are you getting, Tiny? What are you getting? I feel like, and you can be honest and tell us what you think is happening, Tiny. I think in a case like that, Spirit has Nolan's consciousness moved on to the other side. I get yes. Now, we all know that death is really not a true thing if you follow truth. Your consciousness lives on, but it passes on to the other side. And that's what happened with him. So I don't know, Tiny, if you want to ask that in a different way. He passed on out of this earthly consciousness and he's moved on to the other side. Yeah, Christine says, I don't know how much longer the world can take all of this evil and sadness. It's a lot. It is a lot. And that's why we have to take care of our own energy here, guys. We really do. We can't let, we got to, when it comes to our children, we can tell them everything we know and hope that they can survive this mess that we're in right now. As adults, who we are right now, we have to take care of our energy. And that's all we can do. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the reasons I had to move on from the politics of things. They're draining you. They're draining you with all this mess. I say let spirit handle it. It's out of our hands. As far as Nolan goes, to me, he was a young soul that I don't even know how to say it in the right way, but his energy is showing us or giving us even more proof that we can't consume everything that's thrown at us. We know that the universe sends certain people to show us certain things, and we're still fighting it, you know? It's like the universe, whenever I pulled the cards in the past, it was always be patient, be patient, be patient. We're going to get there. It's not going to be an easy path. But there was another young man. His name. Anyway, you guys will know who I'm talking about when I tell you the story. Um, he was put on trial because I guess it's a young black man that stabbed a white man. The judge has stepped down now. This is recent. Um, and there was a lot of lies being told about what really happened, and people that saw what really happened are coming forward telling the real story. But they just hung this young man out to dry in the courts. It looks like they're going to have to do another trial. You know they want to send him to jail for life because of what happened um, with the young white man who allegedly was bullying him. And, you know, he had to defend himself. But I think we're just being made aware of some things. Oh, Christine, that's great. You order some copper that's helping you naturally with your energy and vibrations. If you've seen any of my work that I use copper in my work. And that's one of the reasons why. Not only because of the color, but the energy that it gives us and how it transforms. It's all about transformation too. You know, copper goes through these different kinds of, you know, you might see it go from one color to the next color to the next color. And I think that's how we do. We go from one stage to the next stage to the next stage. We're constantly transforming. And that's why I use it in my work. And you guys will be seeing more of that. Um, when I make my work, I don't copy anything, or I just let spirit lead me. And I'm going to be showing you more of how I do that in the future. Um, but it's fascinating how copper transforms. Yeah, Crump took his case. And you ordered a copper cup to drink water out of. Great, because that's one of the elements in our bodies that we need. We have to have. We have to have copper. If we don't have copper, we're not here. Okay. So we have to keep that in our system. The other young man, I can't think of his name, but I think, Christine, you're talking about that case too. The other young man. But I'll tell you one thing, like Crump or not, he gets to the bottom line. He don't play. Yeah, I'll be showing you guys um, some of my work and how I use it to help my energy. It's kind of like a meditation, and I'm going to be doing some of that with you guys so that you can see. It doesn't, you know, I don't think of it as, well, I think that we are all creative. Some people say, well, I'm not creative. Well, you don't have to make art to be creative. Understand that. You don't have to put paint on a page, or there's so many other ways of being creative. And I just want people to understand that you're just born that way. We're all creators. So yeah, I think Crump will get to the bottom of things, but it's sad that we're having to go through this, but I think it's just bringing a lot of things to the top. Any things that were underneath, boiling underneath, now we're getting to see it on the top. It's being brought forth for us to do something about it. You're welcome, Witch. Tiny says she used the copper rods too. Yeah, I've used those, but I like my pendulum better. I don't know why, because I've been using it forever. I guess that's why. The young man who was speaking of us of as well. Yeah, yeah. I think he'll get to the. It's gonna take a minute because I think somebody's gonna come forward though with information. One of the friends is what I'm hearing. The friend, one of the friends, so-called friends. Yeah, I know he has this last case. I just heard about that. I know he has the last case. But you can imagine both of these are just young men who they are just it doesn't matter. And now, people are coming forward with the stories that they've had. Other young men are coming, or men that are older, that had to go through some of the same thing. I'm hearing about that, them in their own words online, tell their stories of how it could have been them. You know, let me just look at my notes. I don't want to forget anything that I meant to talk to you guys about. Um, hmm. Yeah, we talked about that. I have to say that we all have to do some kind of form of healing, no matter who we are. We don't we don't get away with living in this life without having to heal from something. But I think that what Spirit is doing right now is just showing us all how drastic things have become, how we as humans, and the thing that comes to me as how we as humans have effed up this world that we live in. Let me pull another card. What else, Spirit, do you want to see, to know about our healing or what we're going through right now? I get the Eight of Swords again. I am feeling like Spirit is saying we've got to break out of these shackles that are on us, metaphorically speaking. It's like this is how some of us believe, maybe, that it is just so hard. But what I'm getting is we got to work together, guys. We got to work together, and we can do it. Yes, it's hard, and we're very resilient. We're very resilient people. As black women, we're very resilient women. And you know, this Eight of Swords is like we know what we have to do. We're proud black women. And we know what we have to do. We have to stand together. And let the system know. That we're not going to continue to take their bullying. And as Tiny was saying, that's for any woman. But as I said before also, I have to repeat this. As a black woman, it goes deeper than woman. It goes deeper. It goes into our ancestry. It goes so deep that we feel like we have to claw our way out of it. But that's why it takes us as individuals understanding, just as individuals first understanding what we need to do for us. We've taken care of everybody else. We've supported everybody. We've done our job. Individually, we have to stand up and do what we need to do for us, and then come together and do it, what we need to do for the community. I think that's what Spirit wants us to know. Pull another card. The Temperance. This Temperance card is so different, though. Both feet are in the water. Take a stand. Take a stand. You can't have one foot in and one foot out. You got to see the reality of things. You can't continue to play the game. You know who just came up in my mind? Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett. any one of you have been following her, you know she doesn't play the game. She's smart, as we all are. But at some point, we were made to feel invisible. We were made to shrink. Our bigness, our intelligence. We were told that we were angry black women because we stood up for our truth, and they didn't want to hear it. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Let us get rid of him. Nobody asked you your opinion. Nobody cares, Lucifer. Thank you, Candy, for that. Um, Christine says, I feel like God is saying there's no more gray areas. You are a believer in good or you are a believer in evil. It's black and white now. That's why everyone is fighting. It's good, BS, evil. That's the necklace. Let's see what we're talking about here. What am I asking the necklace? Oh, do you want me to ask if his girlfriend knows something? Is that what you're saying? Tiny, thank you for that. Get rid of him. He's gone. Tiny says, Lucifer, go back to hell. Thank you. Well, let's see. I think that was the question. If his girlfriend knows anything. All right. Spirit, tell me, does Nolan's girlfriend know what really took place on that boat? Yes. Spirit, will she speak up? Will she give them information? Yes. Thank you. Has she already given them information about who did what to Nolan? Yes. So I'd say they pretty much know what's going on. She's given them information. She's given them information already. Yeah. She probably knows everything. Yeah, we were talking about Jasmine. Jasmine, she stands her ground. And this is what I'm saying. For the most part, yes, black women stand their ground. And people don't like that. They don't like it when we do. They start calling us names. But that's their problem. And we can see now that what they would like for us to do is to shrink when they come around. Not say, be afraid to say what is on our minds. That's the truth. And I feel like we need to be, even for the younger, I don't think the younger black women are any different, but just so they know that their elders are not backing down. Look at Jasmine. She is so smart. I mean, nobody's perfect. None of us are. But you have to be able to speak your truth without feeling like you're going to get shot down for speaking your truth. That's the only way we're going to get through this, guys. It's the only way. We're just going to have to do it. Tiny says, after 250,000 years with male God, we now have Blessed Mary, Mother's is God. It's now feminine God, no longer male. This has been the big fight on earth. Yeah. The feminine energy, because it is all energy. I never heard of men bringing forth any life. That is a big part of what's going on here. It's because, we all have our own strengths, but they have the, strength that, as, to the strong, the physical strength. But women have the mental strength. And we actually can outmaneuver them. We can. But we've fallen in line. We've fallen in line. For the most part. But we all know everything came from blackness, which some people forget. Came from blackness. The part about, this is another story for another time. But I'll say this about it. Whiteness is something that man created to make themselves feel good, that they were better. But it all started with blackness. Okay? Somehow, as people of color, or the copper people, or the Negroes, or the black people, or the African Americans, or whatever they want to call us, we are not a people that wants to see or do evil. We welcome people. That's the problem that we have to overcome. Everybody cannot be welcomed. And we have to understand that. Yeah, okay, I get you. Christine says, I was just bullied by these Spanish ladies on my job. It was so stressful. Once I started standing my ground, I got fired. There you go. There you go. The last to be hired and the first to be fired. Sorry about that, Christine. But that's something you had to do for yourself. You couldn't continue to let that happen the way that it was happening. That's so stressful. I mean, that could drive people. We talk about bullying when it comes to the young people. Bullying happens at any age. Now, as far as these Spanish ladies, sometimes they think they're white. They don't understand that they don't get to be in certain circles either. But if you got a little more melanin than them, they think that they can bully you. Tiny says, thousands of years, cook and clean. We just been able to have charge. We just have been able to have charge cards. Oh, yeah, that's true, because everything was under the male's name. Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. Christine says, they hate to hear that they come from us. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Well, you know what? After they've been told that they're so much better than us in everything, and what is it? Three-fifths a human is how they were told we were, and they still believe that? I mean, yeah. What does that make them? I mean, think about it. They came from us, and we're three-fifths human. Their melanin is not showing up, although everybody has melanin. But what does that make them? Which says that's sad on a lot of levels. Spanish people has told my mom a lot of things. Even good people that are Spanish think that all American people have a good have some good. Yeah, we can't lump everybody. There's good people all over this earth, but there are a lot of bad ones. Also, a lot of evil ones. I've heard some Spanish people think that all American people have great health care. Oh, really? Hmm. So I guess they must have great health care. My mom had to tell her that was not correct. So they have great health care, maybe. Great health care. That was supposed to be great health care. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Well, it works in their favor, evidently. I mean, let's face it. The lighter your skin is, the better you're treated, period. Let's pull another card. We're talking about how flawed the system is that we live in. Spirit. We're talking about how the system that we live in is so flawed. Oh, they're trying to say that you had great health care. See, there you go, lumping people. They go lumping people into one pile. What do you want us to know, Spirit, about this system that we live under in America? That is so true. Well, that's okay. So, Candy's saying, "I'm light skinned." It's true. Jesus was not white. That annoys me, seeing pictures of him looking like so. Right. But remember, we're talking about religion. When we talk about Jesus, in a sense, that's where we get the pictures of him from. Um, and we know that he was made to look like a white man. Period. Religion is a man-made concept. Now, sure, it helps some people. Some people need it. Okay, we have the Ten of Wands showing up. Ten of Wands. I feel like what Spirit is saying is that this system has been a burden. The way we live has been a burden for many people. But I see that burden coming down. This particular card. It's like they're stepping out of it. The 10 is always about endings and beginnings. I think what Spirit is saying here is action is being taken to let go of this burden that we've lived under for 250 years. That's what Spirit wants us to know. Which says, yeah, actually I have probably a course like a lot of people, a mixture. Yeah. But I have a lot of Native American, and as far as the picture of Jesus, yeah, he was not white. That's right. It just makes too much sense. The concept of whiteness is so new that 2,000 years ago when Jesus came around, or 2,500 years ago, whatever, whiteness was not a concept. It wasn't. Most of the things that we hear about Jesus are things that people wrote about hundreds of years after his death, or his leaving this earth's consciousness. And remember, What they say he said was, we can do everything that he can. We have the power. And maybe we're coming back into that. Let's pull another card. What does Jesus want us to know? At this time. What does Jesus want us to know, Spirit? What does Jesus want us to know? We have the hair bot. I think this is about those systems that we lived under being taken apart. I hope you guys can see this. I know it's not very close, but it's like the systems that we've lived under are being dismantled. This is what Jesus wants us to know. Give us another card about Jesus' Spirit. Oh. We have the Death card. Things are coming to an end as far as the way we have known them. It's all about transformation. We're being transformed so that we can rebuild this system the way that it should be. We have the Six of Swords. We're moving to higher ground. Period. We've been living in the lower depths of this America, or this earth, in these systems. They were brought, they lived off of our energy. They kept us on this lower level while they grew, the 1% or whatever that was always in power. But things are happening now that's going to destroy that. You're being made aware. Wow. We have the World card. Things are coming full circle. Not only do we have the World card, we have a woman sitting on top of the world. I have to cover some of her up because I don't want any problems. But we have a woman sitting on top of the world. We're talking about the feminine energy. Remember, guys, we talked a lot about this feminine energy when we were speaking about Kamala. What, a year and a half ago? We spoke a lot about that feminine energy. That patriarchal energy has been fighting tooth and nail to keep it down, because this is not the first time. If you look back in history, this is not the first time that the feminine energy tried to make that to rise, and was always smashed and brought back down by the patriarchal energy. Okay? But this time, this is a different situation that we're in at this time, because we've all grown. And we know that the feminine energy is what brings life and keeps life, keeps that energy going. This is why they're trying so hard to stay on top. They're going to try everything they can. And this is, we're I'm going to say we're past the beginning of the end. We're getting there, but it's something major is going to happen, guys, so that we can see it all fall. And even then, it's going to take a minute. That's why we have to understand who we are and the power that we have. Just even within ourselves. Like I said, first we've got to understand our power, our feminine power first as individuals before we can bring it all together. It's happening. Look at this. She's sitting on top of the world, guys. She's sitting on top of the world. That's what Spirit wants us to know. This time, that feminine energy is not going to fold. It's not going to fold. It's here to stay. And it's not about us taking our power back. It's about us being who we were meant to be. Because we've always had the power. We've just forgotten who we're supposed to be. And I feel like Spirit is making us aware of that fact again. Tiny says, not this time, we will not go back. I agree. Yes, major things. You know, when I think about those young black men, the two that stand out now, they're a part of bringing this energy back together. They're a part of it. And you know, it's sad how things are unfolding. It's not a happy time. But there's things that we have to go through, and we gotta pick a side. We can't be 1 foot in and 1 foot out. We gotta be there. We gotta go there, and that's just the bottom line. Yeah. Tiny says January. She feels like January, February timeline about that timing. Yeah. Yep, it's transforming into something better. Hey, we can't go the other way. It has to get better. It has to get better. Yeah. Guys, I'm going to pull one of my permission cards before we go, and then I want to pull an oracle card. And you'll be hearing more about my permission deck also. And the reason I made it is because I believe that one of the reasons that we are here where we are is because we've forgotten that we need to give our own selves permission to do whatever it is we need to do. So, let me pull a permission card here. See what it says. It says, and this is number 47, permission to keep some things just for you. And that goes back to, I'm trying to get it in on the right camera for you guys to see it, but I don't know. Let me set it down, maybe that'll. It goes back to what I was saying about you first. You first. Permission to keep some things just for you. You first. You come first. Before you can really help with the situation that we're going through, is you gotta come take care of yourself first. before you're really ready to help others. Which says, I recently got that message about some of the things that I've been doing with spiritual work. For now, at least, it's just me. Right. I'm telling you. Get yourself, make it about you. And you won't have any problem with others. So let's see what our ancestors, this is Spirit of the Ancestors Oracle. Let's see what they want to tell us. Spirit of the Ancestors Oracle. Oh, it says Father of Water. Balance and harmony. Yep, things have got to be balanced. It's got to be balanced. Let's see what else. Let me pull one more card. Okay, I'm reading these three cards together, guys. We have the Father of Water, which is about balance. The Patriarch, which is unapologetic. And we have the Unknown, which is the feminine energy. Things are going to be balanced. The Patriarch is they're never going to be apologetic about where they are and what they're doing, because they think that they have it all. They know it all. But here is the last card I pulled, is the Unknown. And that's that feminine energy that's rising. That's what's going to bring the balance in. And we don't care if they're unapologetic about whatever it is that how they think things are supposed to be, because we have this feminine energy coming in. Again, she's holding the world in her hand. That's the unknown factor that they don't understand is rising right now. She has the world in her hand, in her lap, and she has two angels surrounding her. And I'm going to pull the last card before I let you guys go. And this is about healing, the healing spirits. What is a spirit that you want us to know? From the healing spirits. All right. I'm going to pull it from the top. It says you are on the right path. And I think that's for all of us, especially all of us in this studio. We're on the right path. We just have to keep on it. We have to stay on it. We have to stay focused, because there's going to be a lot of energy that's going to come around, and you guys understand that. When you're on the right path for you, there's always going to be something or someone that's going to come along and try to knock you off your path. So you have to remember that when those things start happening, because they will. Because it's just the nature of the universe that we live in. You have to be resilient. You have to understand that you have to stand firm. You can't have one foot in and one foot out. You have to stand firm, and you have to know that you're on the right path with what you're doing. And as I said before, the first thing that you're going to have to heal is you. Stay on that path of healing for yourself. Thank you guys so much for being here. Let me just read the last comments. Candy says, yes, amen to that, Mary. We do have to stay on the right path. Yeah, whatever that path is for you, and you know what that is. First, you got to heal yourself. And Christine says, despite how it looks right now, love is the strongest force on earth. That is so true. Love is all there. Love just is. The energy of the universe is love. And whatever that love does to make us see who we are, we got to go through it until we understand that that force is for us. It's not against us. So that force of love is making us see the truth. It's making us see the truth. Nobody can take who we are away from us, our power, our being, unless we hand it over to them. That's one thing I think that the universe is teaching us right now. Yes, and it's the only force that heals the people, Christine says, and our lands. Right. Hate destroys love, Christine continues. Yes, it does. Hate, that energy of hate and negativity, it not only destroys love, it's what deep down make us ill. And if you continue to go down that path, you'll never be able to heal. That's why it's you first. In which says, love, peace, live long and prosper. Thank you for that, Witch. Thank you guys so much for being here. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about what we talked about and if it's helping you to heal who you are. Okay, thank you guys for the conversation. I'll see you next Wednesday for the next Studio Live. Bye now.